Well, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world today. This is Rachel D. Fox and Kara Kirsch. And girl, let me tell you how great you are today.
Let me tell you how great you are with those fly earrings.
Oh my goodness. If you guys could see this, and if you check out the YouTube channel, you'll be able to see this. I have some custom made jewelry earrings from a local designer here in Omaha, Nebraska, who made these feminine earrings that just kind of give the silhouette of a woman, kind of like our logo.
Mm-hmm. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, and Carol was shouting it out today. You know, I just really wanted to give some feminine vibes today because we're
Why
women.
not?
Why not? Because we should give those vibes every single day.
Agree.
So we have somebody here in the studio with us.
We have someone who's been in my life for a long time.
Wow.
And I'm so excited for him to be here today because he's someone that I've always looked up to and has been just a tremendous friend and is such a great leader in our community. Cecil Hicks. Welcome, Cecil.
Thank you, Kara. Appreciate that.
Hi, Cecil.
Hello, Rachel. How are you?
I'm good.
I love the accessories, by the way.
Thank you so much. You know, you guys are giving me some really good vibes today, and I really feel like $1,000,000 when I'm getting all this love.
Well,
so I return the favor. I adore your outfit today. I adore your outfit today.
Thank you.
You guys are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us about your morning. You were saying before we started that it was a little chaotic. Talk to us about that.
It was a little chaotic. You know, I have carpool duty with my daughter. I drop her off every morning. And we were running really, really late. So it was a little hectic after having to combat the sprinkler system, you know, that came on that got us going to the car. So it was crazy, but it's Friday. So
yes,
it's all going to work out.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
Freaky Friday.
And it's Friday the 10th, not the 13th. So that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be Friday the 13th and everything works out well.
True.
And then Friday the 10th and things go haywire. But you know what? Sometimes things start cray and they end up being okay. So, you know, it's all in how you see it. Because
mindset.
My morning started off a little bit rocky today. But you know what I said to myself? It's all going to work out. If the backpack doesn't get delivered, if they don't have their water bottle,
right?
Guess what? It's gonna work out. If the baby starts crying because I'm walking out the door, because that's what happened.
That's what we talked about last time. It was heartbreaking.
Really?
Yes.
He tried it again today, Kara.
Good thing I didn't pick you up because I would have had to go inside and be like, can I give you anything? Can I give you some candy?
That's why he does it. That is why he does it. And I have the proof. I went to the doctor for his child visit and homeboy started headbutting things. And I said, doctor, is this a thing where children just headbutt anything like hardwood floors or countertops and things? He's like, you know what you need to do? Walk away.
Right.
I'm like, wow, parenting. I haven't done this 7 times before. So,
right.
But he is the first child that just headbutts anything.
Wow.
Yeah,
So it's new. Every child is different. Every experience is different. It doesn't matter how many times I've walked down that road before. Here comes a new one. Mm-hmm. Here comes another one. And such is life.
That's right. That's so true.
Yeah.
So true.
So Rachel and I started this podcast so that we could share stories of our community and ways that women and women of color are supported in our community, in their health, in their relationships, and in their business. And so we wanted you to come today because of the tremendous work that you do in our community and how supportive you are in helping women get to the next level. We always have a call to action. And so be thinking about your call to action is if another man said to you, hey, I noticed that you are really good at sponsoring women to move up in their career or have better support. Can you tell me how I do that? Because we'd really like our listeners to know if they're women, how to ask for it, and if they're men, how to give it. Because it's not something that happens readily. And every time I've contacted you since 1998.
Wow, you're dating me now. Wow.
You always say yes.
That's awesome.
And that is, and even if we haven't talked in a year, you always say yes. And I'm so thankful that you do that. And I hope that our listeners can learn about how to ask and how they can educate others on what to do, because you're a person that I see as a mentor and a sponsor, and they are not the same. And we're going to talk a lot about sponsorship in this podcast, because sponsorship is about bringing women to the table for an opportunity. So it's about you saying, someone in your network says, hey, I need help with this executive coaching program. Who do you know? You say, Rachel Fox is the best at that.
Right.
Whoop, whoop. That's who I sponsor.
Right.
Because your sponsorship matters. It's different than if you say, well, I've got a few people that do that. No, I have a couple if you need to give to, and these are the ones I would recommend.
Right.
Then it's on Rachel to sell herself, or it's on Kara to sell herself to whoever it is. But that sponsorship really matters, and it doesn't happen enough for women.
Absolutely right. It does not.
So tell us about, your personal situation, your
Absolutely.
life, your career, your awesome
Give us the
career journey.
juice.
Give us
The
the
juice.
tea.
You want the real juice.
I want the tea.
Huh?
That's
hey,
right.
Before I get into that, though, I just want to just commend you both. I mean, for doing this. I mean, this is absolutely wonderful. We need more of this.
Yes.
And just knowing just how dynamic you two are, this is really, really, really a value
Thank
to
you.
the listeners. So I appreciate it and value that you asked me to be part of this. So thank you. So just a little bit about me briefly. I don't want to bore anybody, but I am not an Omaha native, but I call Nebraska home. I was an Air Force brat, so we traveled around. And that perspective of living in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, as I was growing up, really gave me a real appreciation, really for people, and more importantly, relationships. And that kind of led me in my career, and being involved in human resources is what my profession. And it really kind of guided me towards the things of interest, being involved in the community. Kara talked about having sponsors and mentors and having folks that you could build a relationship who really look after you. And I've tried to kind of tried to replicate that in the relationships and the friendships. And I know Kara and I go way back, and she probably doesn't know this, but she has been a mentor to me as well. Just has been a shining example. And I say this in all sincerity. I'm not sure I've met somebody more driven and compassionate about getting stuff done and getting it done right. You could walk through stuff, right? You could stumble through stuff, but she goes through and she does it with excellence. So that has been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. So I reside here in Omaha. I have a beautiful family, 2 teenagers. Woo!
And he's not bald.
Well,
So that's good.
but I got a lot of
Well,
gray. Let
come
me
on.
tell you.
I mean, I think the gray is nice, but
I don't know about all of that. But so I have 2 teenagers, and my wife who works as a consultant on some different projects. And we love the community. We love getting engaged. We love getting involved. And that's just kind of a little bit about me.
that's great. So you said you're not a Nebraska native. Where are you from?
Where am I from? You know what? You'll notice this. If you're a child who's part of a service family, you say everywhere.
Yeah,
You
me
say
too.
everywhere. But I can tell you, I've been here long enough where I will say that Omaha is home.
Oh, good.
I love it.
What about your career journey? So you and I met in 1998
Again, those
at
dates,
a large
those
employer
dates.
here in town. I know, it seems like forever ago. And my daughter absolutely loved Cecil. She called him Cece, remember?
Probably the only one besides my grandma who can get away with that, by the way.
Yeah,
But that's okay.
but she was so cute.
She
Oh
was
my-
very cute. Very cute.
But he was just a really good friend to me, and very supportive. But tell us about, I remember back in the day you were doing HR, and now you're like running the ship. So tell us about the journey. Because I know you've made some very intentional moves. So tell us about the journey.
You bet. And it didn't start out that way. So when I graduated from college, I ended up working for a consulting firm, actually doing computer programming, which was so far away from what I even studied in college. I was a business major with an emphasis in human resources. And at the time I graduated, it just was not a lot of jobs. So, my parents were like, you need to take a job. Right.
Get a job.
You need to get off the payroll.
Right.
Do something, right? So I went
Car
on.
wash is hiring.
Right. Anything.
Anything.
Right. But here's the deal. I took that job, and although I didn't really enjoy it, I did take the perspective, I'm going to get something out of this, right? I'm going to learn from this experience, even if it's like, this is something I never, ever want to do again. And I really kind of built on that. And I had the opportunity because of a relationship, like a professional relationship in an elevator of all places, where somebody knew that maybe I was looking for another opportunity and said, well, what are you going to do next? And I said, well, I really like to get into human resource. And that happened to be the head of human resources for this organization. And I didn't know this person. I just happened to see her in the elevator all the time and would comment, oh, how are you doing? And she kind of felt that, hey, this is a nice person. When I said that I was interested in HR, she was like, what? We have an opening coming up. Why don't you apply? And I mean, I thought to myself, that was probably the power of relationship and connection, so that really kind of put me on my way to different careers in different sectors that I've worked. I've worked in corporate America. I've worked in a nonprofit. I worked in government as the head of HR for the city. Currently the head of HR for the Omaha public school systems right now. I've worked in corporate America. So I've had a real nice experience. I feel real blessed to have opportunities in those different industries.
And before this thought leaves me, because I'm getting to that age where I have a thought and it's so juicy and then it just go, whoo,
Goodbye.
bye, see ya. I'm never coming back again.
Right.
You thought I was there, but I'm not. The power of being authentic and who you are, no matter where you are. If you hadn't shown up as your full self in that elevator, not knowing who you may have shared the elevator with, this message goes out to anybody who's listening. You don't know who you're entertaining. You don't know if you're in the presence of a CEO, head of HR, anywhere in an elevator. Conduct yourself. Bring your full self to every experience. Even if you're at the car wash, even if you're at the you're pumping gas, or you're at the restaurant.
That is so
somebody
true,
might
Rachel.
Observe you being rude to somebody or being kind to someone.
Right. That
Well,
is
and let
so
me
true.
tell you what it was like with Cecil in the elevator.
Oh boy, I don't know about this.
Is this going to be PG rated?
wanna
Yes,
say.
it is.
Okay, good.
But it was always, you were always welcomed with his smile and a good morning. And as a morning person, there's nothing better than walking in and seeing someone else who clearly appreciates the fact that they woke up today and is going to make a difference in whatever that means for them on that day.
Or also just being present.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're not stuffed inside of your phone.
Correct.
Or
Right.
preoccupied with something
Right.
else. You step into a situation or an experience, bringing your whole self there and acknowledging and appreciating the space that other people are holding with you.
Right.
Totally.
We don't do
Right.
that anymore.
No.
You go to the airport, you go to the grocery store, everybody is doing what? They're on their phones. They can't even see what's in front of them or appreciate what's in front of them because they're tuned into their devices.
You are so right, Rachel. I mean, you can walk down the street. You could just do an observation, do an experiment. You just watch people connected to that device and not really in that moment, right? And that is so true. And I really appreciate the comments you said about being authentic, because I really have tried to make that be my secret sauce. And it's not always easy to do. And I know, as sometimes persons of color, and I can imagine women as well, sometimes don't feel as comfortable being their authentic self because of feeling like, okay, what will this be judged? Will there be other things connected to that? And that's unfortunate. And I try to pull that out in people to try to find that little piece to say, let me find out who you are and help you and work together.
Yeah, and embracing that.
Right.
That especially for women, like you lifted up for women of color. I've been into many corporate environments where I feel like I'm one of the only, or I
Right.
have to play up to everybody else in the room and not be myself. Or if I come in a wig one day,
Right.
and then I take that wig off and you see my natural coils and they're like, oh, which one is the real?
Right.
No,
Absolutely.
they're both me.
Right.
They are both who I am, and we need to be able to have those conversations to break down those stereotypes for other people and say, we need to create safe spaces for everyone to
That's
be
right.
who they are authentically.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. 100%. I was listening to something yesterday. I was telling Rachel this while you were getting set up, Cecil, I was listening to this other podcast and they said women stab each other in the back, men stab each other in the front.
It's true.
So, they will say what men will say what they need to say, give you the heat and move on.
Right.
Women will tell you what you think you want to hear and then walk away and tear you down, or maybe say negative things about you if your name is brought up by another. They won't protect. And so that is something I care deeply about for our young women.
Right.
So we had interns at our firm this year, and I'd never been able to work with interns before. This was my first time, other than, you know, my daughter's 23 and she does not want to be my intern. Just so we're all clear.
Don't work with your family. Don't work with your family.
As a side note,
with your family.
She did an assessment prior to going to nursing school, and guess what job it said she should have?
Oh no, what?
Sales.
Really?
Yes.
Holy
So I was like, this is great. You can come be with me. And she's like, no. Anyway, we had interns, and I was able to work with a young woman who is going to be great. She's still in college. She has one more year to go, but it was a way for me, I think, to make the road less difficult. I don't want our young women to get bloodied the way I did. That's what I tell people.
Right.
And because I got bloodied.
Oh yeah.
By the process, by other women, by other leaders, not intentionally in some scenarios, intentionally in others. But it was not always a fun experience to try and get to the place I wanted to get to.
Right.
And there's been a lot of people that have stepped in along the way too, to say, don't worry, you know, this too shall pass, or this is going to be okay.
Well, I think it's absolutely ridiculous in 2021. We're still talking about what you're saying. I mean, I just step back and say, what productively comes out of that by blooding somebody else or making the road real harder? It just does not have any value to doing that, but we're still talking about it, right?
I know. Well, we're still seeing it in our young girls. I mean, you have a teenage daughter.
Right.
The road's not easy for her.
Right.
And so how can we empower her to stand up to, hey, it doesn't make sense for us to be fighting against each other. Why don't we come together and become more powerful?
That's so true.
I mean, Rachel and I have often said we could rule the world.
You do rule the world.
That's right. Come on, put it in the present tense. And
Thank you.
You know, what I also am picking up and I'm observing is that we perpetuate a mindset that women carry certain traits that we may or may not carry, but we take ownership of that when we say women don't get along or women stab each other in the back. That may have been a perception in the past that we need to unravel and undo.
That's right.
Because so many of us are saying, no, we want to be here for one another. This podcast exists to empower and uplift women by telling them how great they are. Mm-hmm. And so for me, when I'm looking at a young woman, I am saying to them, it's okay. It's actually a cool thing to collaborate and, you know, join forces with one another. Then you'll be unstoppable. It's strategy that keeps women competing with one another. It's my thought. It's strategic because, you know, just think about biblical, if I could just bring that up, in the Tower of Babel. God had to confuse their language because he said, if they come together, nothing will be impossible for them. Mm-hmm. So let's flip that to current present tense. If we come together, a body of women, a body of people, and we have one mission, one goal, we can be unstoppable if we strive toward that. But so many times our language gets confused. We're looking at social media and we're comparing ourselves to this person or that person. Mm-hmm. She wrote a book, I'm going to write a book. She did this, I'm going to do this. Well, how about we come together and do this? That has to be the reverberating messaging that goes forward and not perpetuate these messages that say women can't get along or men are doing this and that. And I absolutely agree that sometimes men will say what they need to say and you know it's coming. They say, I'm after you.
Right.
I'm coming for you.
Right.
Okay. And women, we have that subtle way sometimes of saying, I'm coming for you. And maybe it is perceived as backstabbing. And maybe we need to elevate our voices and saying, you know what? I love you, girl, but I'm coming for you.
Right.
And
we're going to have a crucial conversation.
Boom.
Right.
Boom.
I think you used to say that. Crucial conversation.
Crucial conversation, right?
Yeah.
Have courage to have dialogue. It really isn't.
It's okay to have disagreement.
And people sometimes are scared of dialogue, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're scared of hearing something that may make them look bad or weak, right? And I think a sign of a real good leader, and I try to do this, is to admit I don't know it all. And I'm okay. I'm okay with not knowing it all and surrounding myself with super smart people like Kara and Rachel. I mean, I know it, and I'm okay with that. I don't have any boundaries when it comes to those type of.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because in my younger career, I did keep a lot to myself. Guarded information, guarded knowledge. I call it knowledge hoarding now because it's so pointless.
Right.
But today, no way.
Right.
Because here's the other thing. I don't want to work 15 hours a day. You can get a heck of a lot more work done with other people than you can by yourself.
Right.
But I used to be very much like, let me handle this myself. I'm the only one who can do it my way. And fast forward, it's a struggle because I'm very much a perfectionist, was raised a perfectionist, which we can talk about that on a different show. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I no longer need the lines in my carpet like my grandmother used to make me do, but I digress. So yeah, we're more powerful together. So talk a little bit about, how you bring people together. You talked about surrounding yourself with intelligent people, but in your community, and how do you encourage collaboration?
Right. Part of it, you've already kind of mentioned it, is being really in the moment, is really trying to see value in every single relationship and interaction. It doesn't matter. It could be a young kid. It could be an older person. I really try to find where's that sweet spot, where's that value, where's that piece of interest, right? And really try to connect with people. That has been very worthwhile for me to do in my career and my personal satisfaction as well. It's nothing worse than when you go up to somebody and you try to talk to them and you could tell they're distracted with something else, right? You could tell that they're either looking over their shoulder or doing whatever, and you don't feel that sense of value, right? So I try to do that in the interactions.
Do you call that out? Do you ever call that out when you're in communication with someone and you can tell that they're not here? Do you ever say, "Hey, I'm right here"?
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I will just be quiet. I'll just sit there and just stare, and then that gap of silence is like, wait a minute, what?
Right?
Why isn't anybody? So trying different techniques, like, oh, okay, there's something kind of going on.
I think that's powerful, not to glaze over a thing and say, I'm just going to keep saying whatever I have to say, but I know you're not here with me.
Right.
Right. And I think sometimes people confuse the approach that I have with, oh, well, you don't have any enemies, or you're trying to, satisfy everybody or make everybody. And that's not the case at all, because I've had some real hard conversations with the people in my circle and outside of my circle that have not been comfortable. But you know what? I've also had people come back and say, nobody's ever told me that, and I wish I would have heard that earlier.
Yes.
And I've had people tell me that as well, and I've said, wow, thank you for giving me that feedback, because it's hard to get that sometimes, right? It's hard to hear, like, hey,
when was the first time you had a 360?
Ooh. I can't remember when.
So I didn't have one till I was 40.
Okay.
My first 360 I'm 40 years old.
Okay.
It was debilitating.
But what you take with
it was
though?
So good.
Wasn't it though?
So after I got past the first couple, like, I'll call it a week, because when I first heard it, I was like, oh my God, this is not good. But once I was able,
what 360 is, because sometimes people don't know what that means when I talk to them about it.
Yeah. So a 360 is you know the technical definition better than me, but it's just where your peers and your peers, the people below you, the people above you, all do like a scorecard on you. Mm-hmm. So people who report to you, people who work in different departments but have to work with you cross-functionally, your leaders, et cetera, and they all get to give feedback about you. Mm-hmm. And I love feedback, but that was one of the hardest parts of my career because it was a pivotal time.
Right.
So I had two choices: give up or move up. Pull that feedback in and say, okay, I got to look at myself in the mirror now. And I will say it changed me.
That's good.
Pretty significantly. And now, I mean, a lot of the things that I do now, people that interacted with me back then and haven't interacted with me lately are like, who is this person?
Right.
But I do think it takes strong feedback to help you move to the next level.
Well, and the powerful piece about it is that tool has to be used correctly. It should be used as a development tool.
Right.
And people get scared for it sometimes. Oh, it's going to determine what type of pay increase I get. It really shouldn't be used that way. It should be used as a supplemental. How can I improve? What am I doing well? Celebrate the successes, celebrate my strong points. So that's what's really good about that tool if used properly. And, you could take that context outside of the workplace too, right? And use that 360 assessment in your personal life, right?
You must have been feeling my vibe here, because I was like, take us there for the people who are not in corporate.
Right. I mean, you could find out what is your child thinking, what is your third, and get feedback from them, right? Get feedback from your neighbor.
I don't want to ask my children what they think about me right now.
I don't want to ask them right now.
I know, right?
No, I'd be like balled up in a corner, sucking my thumb, swaying back and forth.
And once you get past that, sometimes they have some good feedback.
Let me give you your opinion.
Right.
There's a difference between feedback and opinion.
That's so true. It's so true.
And Carrie, you said, I enjoy feedback. I do not enjoy feedback. I don't enjoy it.
Why?
It just gives me a little bit of anxiety, if I'm just completely honest, because in the back of my mind, I have a really vivid imagination. And so I just think of all the worst case scenarios, and I'm all like anxious, and you'd have to open up the file for me and read it. And then I have to look at your face to know if it's good or bad, or if I should say, open this, don't open this. Okay, I don't want to know what they have to say. I'm the one who gets the email, and Cecil, you have to open it for me.
And you know what that is? Conditional response. So someone in your life, only because I've done a lot of introspective work on this, someone in your life continued to give you feedback that was not helpful.
Oh, girl, I know where it came from.
Tearing you down.
That's my years
It's
of
happened,
corporate.
right? And it even happens like in our childhood.
Right.
And we've done it to our kids too. So they'll need therapy at some point, which I always tell my kids, you're welcome. You're going to be supporting the healthcare system.
Right.
But it's because of what's happened. And I think that is the beautiful thing about this discussion and our podcast in totality, is that we're going to teach people how to move through that. So now that you have shared, you've been vulnerable today, and you've shared that feedback is hard for you, I want us to talk about that sometime. Let's talk about how you put aside your past experiences and believe that the feedback is going to make you better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting better at it.
Age. Don't you think, Cecil?
I think age and time,
experiences,
and I don't take it personally anymore. I don't wear it on my heart anymore.
Yeah.
But it took some time. It took some really deep work to say, this is feedback, and it doesn't impact who the nature and the core of who you are.
That's right.
This is something that is a tool to help build you up. And I had years and years of feedback and course correction and those types of things from toxic work environments.
Right.
And it used to give me so much anxiety. I mean, I used to have one-on-ones with a supervisor all of the time, and I would have to do things that no employee should have to do, especially salaried, like write down every minute where I went to the bathroom or I went to lunch or, I was asked if I really wanted to be employed there. Those types of things just mess with you.
Right.
And
for sure.
And so then when you get feedback in other, experiences, you're like, it's going to be bad.
That's right. And sometimes you don't even know you're in those toxic environments. I can think of a story when at one of my positions where I had two young women who this was their first experience in the workforce, right? And we were working in a very, very toxic environment. Now, my experience was I knew it was toxic, but these two young women, they didn't. I mean, they came to me and said, is this really how it is? And I said, no, it's not, and took that time along with another colleague of mine to say, this is really the way it should be going to operate. And years later, they've often come back and said, we appreciate you saying that because we thought this is not what we signed up for, and we didn't think it needed to be like this. And if it is, we're not in the right place. And me and another colleague reaffirmed, no, you're in the right profession, but this is the wrong environment. And they have thrived after having that experience. But I just only think if there hadn't been some type of interaction or engagement in that process, who knows what would have happened with their first professional experience, you know?
So that's a clear demonstration to me of how you show up. Because you could have very easily, and this has been my experience with you my entire time of knowing you, is that you're going to try and talk through it, even if it doesn't benefit you. So you helped other people to see their greatness and to proceed in their life, career, etc. And that probably didn't benefit you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but it did benefit me.
Tell me more.
Well, because by having that experience, it helped me grow. And I thrive on seeing other folks thrive.
Boom.
So it helped me. And that's the way I see it. You know, as I think of a call to action, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I would encourage people is to look back a little bit and reach out to the people, one person. Don't overwhelm yourself. 1, 2 people who had an impact on you, and thank them and give them that feedback. In that process, they will benefit and you will benefit as well.
Wow.
And then I say, pay it forward and reach out to 1, 2 people and do the same type of thing. Offer some wisdom, find out what their sweet spot is, give them a little bit of encouragement, right? Everybody will benefit for that interaction. I've tried it. I've done it. I've tried to live by it. And you feel so good about it.
You feel so good. I didn't used to do it, but now I do it. I mean, I've been doing it probably for the past 10 years.
I believe it. Yeah.
But prior to that, it was hard for me because I was just so wrapped up in my own head. But now, I mean, I give it freely.
Easily,
because
freely.
It comes back to me every single time. And
Right.
whenever I leave those interactions, it makes me feel good. I mean, our first interaction was an interaction that made me feel so good. Aww. So thank you for allowing me to be part of your greatness, Rachel, because I mean, I look up to you and I'm excited for what the future holds for us and you.
Well, I'm just really thrilled and excited. This was just an amazing conversation. And Kara, I'm telling you, the moment that you and I had that conversation, the moment we connected, I knew that it was going to be something amazing and incredible. I have, the return on investment almost always doesn't happen in the immediate
That's right.
interaction. It comes over time.
That's
and it's
right.
those seeds that are sown. You never know when you plant a seed what's going to sprout up.
Right.
If it's going to die or if it's going to flourish. But the fact that you planted the seed should do something in you to know that that is going to reap a harvest. I know it's going to, because it's just the way things are. There is a law that says if you plant something, you're gonna reap it. Mm-hmm. And so you planted something in me that's sprouting up even right now, and it's going to continue to flourish. You planted something in those individuals years ago, and it's sprouting up today because they're successful because of the seed that you sowed into their lives. So we should never think about, okay, what am I going to get immediately from this? You are benefiting by the mere fact that you are being present in that person's life.
Yeah, and I think you can't plant your seeds and not nourish them.
That's right.
Boom.
That's absolutely right.
I think about, I'll just use our Cecil and I's friendship as an example. So I send him a Christmas card. His wife sends me one.
Yeah, you got that right. It wasn't me.
Yeah, let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
But it's a way for us to keep our families connected. I've really never met his children or spent time with them, and he's really never met my sons. But there's this genuine respect and caring about another person, and you have to nurture it.
That's right.
You can't just plant it and hope one day that I could go to someone like Cecil that I hadn't been nurturing and say, hey, would you do this for me? Because he's going to be like, where have you been? Mm-hmm. So I do think one thing that we don't do well is nurture the things that are growing. And that's really important as part of this showing up position. But we're so grateful that you came on today. I love the call to action.
Yes.
That's great. And continue to do the great work in our community, my friend, because you're making a difference. And I'm so grateful that you're part of my life, and Rachel knew you too. So we're excited to see you continue to flourish and maybe run for governor.
No, thank you. But
Governor?
No,
Governor.
I don't think so.
Hello, governor. How about mayor?
No,
Any political?
No, I don't think so.
No political journey?
I don't think so.
Dang it.
I know, right? That's awfully nice.
I mean, I loved how involved you were in politics before, but this is the lightning round questions.
Okay.
3 lightning round questions, and then we're wrapping up.
Boom.
Favorite food?
Ooh, pizza.
Ooh, New York style?
Definitely.
I'll take any style.
Chicago style?
I don't know about Chicago. That's too saucy.
Deep dish.
Oh, I love it.
Really? No, I don't do
Lou Malnati's in Chicago is the best. Favorite pro basketball
Oh,
team?
you know that. Come on. My Lakers.
Lakers.
Oh, you guys drinking the Kool-Aid.
We drank the Kool-Aid a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Okay, and your favorite hobby?
Ooh, favorite hobby. Wow. This is going to sound like a couch potato thing. I love movies and Netflix and all that, and spending time
And
with
have you
family.
watched a good Netflix series lately?
I haven't. So I would open to some suggestions.
Well, I didn't watch it on Netflix, but it was on HBO on demand called White Lotus.
Okay, White Lotus.
It was kind of dark and creepy, but it was good.
Okay.
And there were only 6 episodes. I think
That's
I shared
good.
with Rachel at one time that during the pandemic, I watched all the Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
There are 17 seasons and about 30 episodes per season. Do you know how many hours that is? Trust
a
me,
lot.
I did the math,
I
and I'm
know.
like, okay, Kara,
That's too much.
this is too much.
That is too
put,
much.
Put the remote down.
We all did it, Kara.
I've been
We all did it.
watching The Good Fight. It's on CBS.
Okay.
Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is really, really good.
That's awesome.
But
That's
I would
awesome.
also encourage our audience to take time off of devices,
It's so
time off
true.
of TV,
So true.
and
Yes.
embrace what is around you and
Be
slow
present.
down. Be present in the moment,
so
slow
true.
down, and appreciate the little things in life.
That's so true.
So, for those listeners that are joining us for the first or second time, our podcast launches the 4th Thursday of every month.
Yes.
And so make sure that you subscribe in whatever app you're using to listen. You can follow us on social. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Again, we are just so grateful for everyone that's following and listening to this journey. And next time, we'll be continuing the conversation to raise people up and tell them how great they are.
Girl, you're great.
You're great. Love you.
All right. See you next time.
Thank you, Cecil.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Goodbye.